thanks so much for joining us today. My name's Jacquie Panto. I am the Associate Director of Admissions for Penn Engineering, and I'm so thrilled to see so many people logging on for the webinar today. Today, we are going to be focusing on one of our online programs. We are going to be featuring our Masters of Science in Engineering and Data Science program, otherwise known as our MSE-DS Online program. You are going to get tons of information specifically about that program, what the program's all about, the program curriculum, how it's structured. And with that, we have a very special guest with us. We have Professor James G. And Professor G is going to talk all about the ins and outs of the MSE-DS program in just a few minutes. In addition, I'm going to talk a little bit about all of the resources that our students have to be successful in the program. We'll touch upon the application elements, what it takes to build a strong application, all of the dates and deadlines. So really our goal today is to answer as many questions as possible, things that you're thinking about, what you're wondering, and hopefully we're going to ease any of those concerns and answer your questions today. We are going to allow time at the end for Q&A. So again, we want to get those questions answered for you. So before we get started, and I pass the presentation on to Professor G, just want to talk about just some useful information while we're going through the webinar today. So number one, we are being recorded. So there's no need to take notes. You don't have to worry about if you missed something. You will be able to go back and watch this webinar again, or you can watch just portions of it. But again, it is being recorded. And I also want you to know that all past webinars have been recorded. So we have a library on our YouTube channel. It is a wonderful resource as you're learning about our programs or the application process. I highly urge you to go back and to look through that library. And you can even watch webinars with current students that talk about their journey through the program. We have webinars with alumni, again, talking about their journey and what they're doing now and how the program helped them to get to where they are today. So lots of great information within that webinar library. Now, with regard to the webinar today, we want you to ask questions. Absolutely. The way you're going to do that, you're going to use the Q&A function on the Zoom toolbar. So if you look down at that toolbar, there should be something that says Q&A, or you might have to go into an icon that says more. Click on that, get to that Q&A toolbar, type your question out, and then we have members from the admissions team that are behind the scenes. They'll be answering those questions, typing back answers in the Q&A. And then other questions, some questions will be saved for the end, and Professor G and myself will be answering questions live during the webinar as well. So our goal is to get all questions answered. They'll either be answered through the Q&A or we'll be answering them on screen later on. Okay, so I think that kind of helps with what's going on. So before I actually turn the presentation over to Professor G, I just wanted to talk a little bit about why Penn Engineering Online. What is it about Penn Engineering Online that makes us so great or so special or so different? And this would go for any of our online programs. So there's lots of different reasons, lots of different points of differences, but what I wanted to do is to point out four main reasons. The first three you see here. So number one, absolutely, it is our faculty. In the online program, all of our online students get to work with the same world-renowned faculty that teach in our on-campus program. So there is no difference. It's not like we bring in adjunct faculty or different faculty for the online program. You are going to be learning from the same world-renowned faculty, educators, researchers that teach in the on-campus program. So there is no difference with that. And you'll be able to interact with them. All of our professors have office hours, so you'll be able to interact with them, virtually as well in a live virtual setting. In addition to that is the flexibility and the fact that all of our courses are asynchronous. There is nothing that you are going to be forced or required, I should say, to log into. There are no required lectures, no required events. We have students representing over 40 countries around the world. So you can see how flexible and how we've designed the program to be extremely flexible. In addition, the flexibility also falls into your course schedule. You are going to attend classes either full-time or part-time, and that's your choice. So perhaps one semester you're extremely busy in your professional life and you can only take one course and be a part-time student. But the next semester, maybe things are going to free up in your professional life and you can go up to 3 courses and be a full-time student. So you can like fluctuate back and forth between 1 course, 2 courses, 3 courses, and you choose to do that. And you'll have a career advisor to kind of help you with maybe how to structure things based on what your time management schedule, what your work schedule looks like, and just what the timing of life looks like. So again, totally flexible, lots of flexibility, nothing is synchronized, and you are going to be working with our incredible world-renowned faculties, the same faculty that teach in our on-campus programs. And the final reason why our program is just absolutely so different from the others out there is our community. And I always say I can talk about this all day long. We have the most incredible online community, extremely collaborative. Our students collaborate with one another. Students are able to collaborate with our faculty, with all of our staff, and everyone in our community is so dedicated to helping each other succeed. And I think that's really, really such a great benefit of the Penn Engineering Online program. So what I'd like to do now is turn the presentation over to Dr. James G., and he is going to talk all about the MSE-DS program. He's going to make you experts and learn all about the program. So Professor G., thanks so much for being with us today. We really appreciate it.
Brilliant. Thank you so much, Jackie, for the introduction to the program itself and to me. Good morning, everybody. Welcome again. Good afternoon for folk who are dialing in from the East Coast. I'm actually on the West Coast today. And good evening in case there's actually anybody dialing in from abroad. I haven't checked the participant list, but welcome everybody again. Hello, I'm Jim G. I direct a master's program. Super excited to be a part of a team that has brought our training initiative in data science at Penn into the online space. A little bit about myself that's listed on the slide here. My own background is in computer science. I actually trained at Penn in the Computer Information Science department before I joined the faculty at the medical school after graduation, where I work broadly in medical image computing. You see on the slide here that I also direct some other programs, including a training program, our flagship training program in imaging science PhD training, that's matriculated its 18th cohort this fall. So I've actually been at Penn for a while. I've also been a part of the training infrastructure for a good while. It's been wonderful to bring some of that experience to bear in terms of both launching and now helping to run the online data science program. A couple of fun facts that I'm supposed to tell you about myself. I was born and raised in Africa and Nigeria specifically. And I did a stint in a British boarding school for a few years before continuing my training in the States from high school onwards. So every now and then you'll hear me slip in some British colloquialisms or pronounce things a little bit differently, and now you know why. All right, so let's get into the program. So who is this program for, what it is? So I'm given that you're attending this webinar, I assume that I hope I'm actually preaching to the choir here. But data science, which we define as the art and practice of acquiring, organizing, analyzing, and understanding data for the purpose of domain specific solutions, is such a critical, if not integral part of virtually every professional pursuit that we can think of today. Fluency with data analysis methods has become essential for everybody whether you're a scientist, researcher, engineer, analyst, policymaker, you name it. At Penn, we've been at the forefront of training data scientists of the future. Our online program builds on both the excellence of the data science research and training at Penn. You heard Jackie emphasize that this program is driven by a world-class faculty at the university. And furthermore, it builds on the strength of Penn Engineering Online learning. If any of you have experience with online education, I can assure you that you've come to the top tier of such programs. It's just been a revelation for myself as somebody who's primarily involved in on-campus programs to see the remarkable job that the online team does in terms of extending our training infrastructure to beyond the walls of our campus. So our goal ultimately is to graduate students who are able to combine a background in scalable, robust computational and statistical methods with an application domain in any of the areas that you folk are likely coming from, are interested in. And by this, I include engineering, marketing, the social sciences, the biomedical sciences, communication, or the arts and humanities, all areas represented on an on-campus program and represented in our online community as well. So to make this happen, our students will be trained, or our aim is to train students who will develop skills and will generate outcomes, including the following. So we strive to develop students who will graduate with an ability to formulate and evaluate hypotheses, have a strong understanding of statistical modeling and statistical tests, additional background in a variety of machine learning methods, the practical ability to load, clean, integrate, analyze, and visualize data, the day-to-day skills that you'll bring to your professional endeavors, as well as the ability to write data analysis code, both in terms of scripts and workflows that can scale to large data volumes and streaming data. And finally, something that's incredibly important, an understanding of data ethics and data privacy concerns and issues and best practices. So what's the profile of our ideal online student? This is somebody who's interested in solving problems and expected to be both quantitatively and algorithmically minded with a demonstrated interest in data science. Your background can include an undergraduate degree in computer science or a computer science minor, or a degree in a highly quantitative field, as long as you demonstrate strong work experience in software development. So as you see here, our curriculum is designed to target core data science learning objectives and allow for a wide set of depth areas to be covered. And by this, we mean that sort of the range of professional interests that are represented in our training community. Our program is designed to accommodate all of them and to make sure that you all have a common baseline that ensures proficiency in probability and statistics, as well as at least one programming language that you'll use to implement the knowledge that you've gained through the program. So more specifically, the curriculum consists of 4 courses, 4 technical electives, and 2 open electives. Jackie will probably get into a little bit more detail about the curricular requirements, but basically it's 10 courses. And I think the next slide gets into a little bit about the courses. We can get to this a little bit later. Presumably, many of you are taking up this training program because you have specific professional interests that you want to advance. And I'd love to get into some of this during the Q&A session about how this particular program directly addresses some of your some of your interests. But here's an outline of the actual curriculum itself. So the core courses are the ones shown in the middle column. These are what we considered our fundamental data science specific courses. And as you can see, it addresses both the theoretical aspects of data science as well as the practical aspects of data science. So both understanding the algorithms and the statistical methods and the data-oriented methods that you're going to be bringing bear to your work. Then as well as the practical elements of translating the theory and the algorithms into practice. We have 2 foundational courses that are mandatory. These are designed to further get into the algorithmic perspective that we take at the Penn Data Science Online Training Program. So this is a distinction between our program and some of the other programs that you might have considered that are available to the public. We have a heavier emphasis on computer science, which is reflected in the eligibility requirements when you apply for the program. Why did we choose this particular orientation? Well, part of it is a factor of the training community that we have, the training faculty community that we have here at Penn, which is especially strong in computer science and algorithms. And so leveraging those strengths and highlighting these particular strengths in our training program is something that we consider to be a distinction of the Penn MSE-DS Online program. You then have an opportunity to select up to 2 technical electives, and these you can choose from any of the engineering and technically oriented electives that are available through our online engineering program. I believe that some of these courses might extend beyond what's listed here, and you're welcome to actually look through the entire online roster of courses. And if there's something that you don't see here, but you actually see on the course roster that you're interested in, you're more than welcome to petition program in terms of being able to take up one of those courses that's listed on the roster but not listed here. And again, be happy to address questions about specific curricular requirements during the open Q&A session. Let's see. Finally, what is the course experience like? If any of you have taken online any of the online educational offerings, either here at Penn or elsewhere, you're probably familiar with some of the standard elements of such programs. But what the elements that we really do want to emphasize, as Jackie had mentioned earlier, are the many community-oriented offerings that we provide. These include the 24/7 discussion forums. Jackie will get into the particular mechanisms that we use to facilitate discussion, importantly, both among the student community itself, as well as with the formal training, the formal quote trainers of your program. This includes both the course instructor as well as the teaching assistants and other support staff that are available to you for a course. Again, we want to iterate there are no actual real-time requirements that are part of a course. Lectures are all available asynchronously. There are sessions, real-time sessions available to you to assist you in your training, so-called office hours, but again, their attendance is not mandatory. The course is structured in such a way to be friendly to your professional demands, and so we have deadlines that are structured in such a way as I mentioned, to accommodate your other commitments, but also structured in such a way to keep you in making steady progress throughout your course. We appreciate how busy everybody's lives are, and not having the luxury and privilege of being a full-time student where you can organize your life a bit more easily around your coursework. Here, we're very mindful of that, and at the same time, structuring things to make sure that you make consistent progress and you don't fall too far behind, and help you just stay on top of the course and stay on top of your life, basically. The last note here, again, you will have access to the entire sort of like training infrastructure. These include an army of teaching assistants that are available to you. This is something, by the way, I should let you know, it's special to the online experience. The on-campus experience is tremendous, but there are special elements to the online experience that I'll have to say exceed our on-campus experience. Please don't tell the on-campus students about some of the amenities and privileges that you guys actually have access to. But I have to say, as somebody who works in both teaching environments, there are a number of amenities that we provide to our online trainees that exceeds what's available to our on-campus students. Obviously, there are two different experiences, but I can assure you that as Jacquie mentioned, not only do you have access to the same faculty, the same world-class faculty, you also have access to an experience that we demand of our faculty in terms of crafting their online courses that far exceeds what's required in terms of how they craft their on-campus courses. The online engineering team will tell you that there's a very, very strict regimen that they need to follow in terms of putting together a course. I can tell you that we provide no instructions to a faculty when they craft an on-campus course. So the degree of investment of time and effort in terms of building out an online course and then the experience of delivering it is very different. It's very thoughtful, very rigorous, and I believe all of this translates to not just an experience that you expect in terms of taking a course, but one that I hope that's actually enjoyable and something that you actually look forward to. I don't know how many of our on-campus students actually look forward to getting classes, but they're typically younger and they're busy with their social lives and stuff like that. But I have to say again, I do want to emphasize that the course experience is exceptional, and if you were to speak to any of our instructors of the courses, I think 100% of them will vouch for the fact that their experiences in terms of creating and delivering an online course has actually vastly improved how they've delivered and crafted their on-campus courses. So you're actually getting the best of the best. And let me end with that, Jacquie. And how did I do?
Oh my God, you did phenomenal. And there's just so many things about what you just said that are just so important. I think, and I could be wrong, but I think there were some professors out there that in the beginning might have been a little skeptical of the online programs or the online structure, and now have realized how truly amazing that it is, and maybe has even helped them with on-campus courses as well. I think it's really that you kind of hit the nail on the head with that one for sure. And I think the other thing that's really important is that even though we talk a lot about the flexibility and how everything is asynchronous and there's flexibility in the amount of courses you take and whatnot, there's still a lot of structure to the program in terms of keeping our students on track and making sure there's points within the course where whether it's a quiz or a project that they're, learning the materials and moving on and there's structure to it. So, they're following a syllabus. Every professor has a syllabus. So there is structure within the program itself, but there's a lot of flexibility in terms of when students get that work done within the due dates that are within the course. And I think that you talked all about that. Those are really, really important points. So awesome. Thank you. What ties in also to the course experience is what are the resources that are provided to our students. And we want our students to be involved. And it's our job and our student affairs team job, all of the advisors, their job is to make sure that our students know all of the valuable resources that they have to get connected and to be involved and to quite honestly be successful in the program. So we've kind of broken this down into three main areas. So how do you get connected? How do our students stay connected with one another? Well, Slack is probably the big backbone of the program in terms of how to communicate. So all of our students will communicate on the Slack workspace. There are Slack channels for each course. So they'll communicate with other students that are in that virtual classroom, that virtual course. They'll be able to do that. There's also Slack channels that are broken down geographically. Some students will create geographical Slack channels. They'll talk to one another. Sometimes they'll actually meet up in person for study groups. So lots of different Slack channels. There might even be a Slack channel for students with pets. I mean, all sorts of things. So it ventures out from the actual curriculum and the learning experience. But again, just great ways to communicate and to stay involved with other students. There's also a LinkedIn channel for our students. So you'll be able to go into LinkedIn and join that group as well. And then every course has a discussion board. So you'll be communicating with other students, with TAs on the ed discussion board within the classes themselves. So lots of different ways to stay connected in this virtual setting. We also have events. So different events within different parts of the program. So for example, we will offer an in-person event every year called Fall Fest, where we invite all of our students, all of our online students, we will invite to campus for 3 days. It's something that Penn Engineering Online sets up. We love when our students come to campus, and this is a great way for our students to get to know each other, our faculty involved. I know, Jim, you've been involved probably with every Fall Fest that we've had, and other faculty members are there. There's workshops, and just lots of ways to meet staff, to meet faculty, to meet other students. So we absolutely love Fall Fest. It's usually in October every year. It's 3 days and usually wraps around a weekend. Sometimes there's sporting events that we go to. So lots of fun things as well. So that's a great event. But then there's other events that come up. There could be virtual events that our advisors will have when introducing new courses. So they'll talk about new courses. So anything at all that changes, a process change or a new course or a policy change, they might try to bring students together in a virtual setting to discuss all of that. Obviously, commencement is a huge big deal. So when you're ready to graduate, we hope that all of our students come to campus for commencement. There's definitely events wrapped around that, and it's really an exciting time. So lots of different ways to get involved, lots of different events, virtual events, as well as some in-person events as well. Now, in terms of clubs and associations, there are clubs, there are associations. There's lots of clubs that are on campus, clubs and associations that are open for virtual settings for our online students. Certainly many things to get involved with. And then Jim mentioned our teaching assistants, our TAs. This is an incredible group of very talented and involved students that become teaching assistants. They help fellow students, but it's also a good way for you if you have some extra time or can carve out some extra time. It's a great way to get involved with the community by becoming a teaching assistant. It really helps your own learning ability as well. and it helps you to get involved, meet more people. So teaching assistants kind of goes two ways. You're getting help from a teaching assistant, but you also may want to become a teaching assistant as well. And then we also have something that's called TLP, which is our Teaching Learning Practicum, which is very similar to a teaching assistant. And the TLP is a program so that if you're not within the United States, if you're, say, an international student, you could become involved in our TLP program as well. So just lots of different areas, lots of resources to be connected with the community and to also be successful in the program. So I wanted to spend some time on the application and some dates and deadlines. I cannot believe it, but we are less than 2 weeks away from our first application deadline. Our early application deadline is March 3rd, so less than 2 weeks away. And for those individuals that are looking to apply to early deadline, all application materials would need to be in by March 3rd. So that means letters of recommendation. If you're planning on submitting a GRE score, which is optional, those test scores would need to be in by March 3rd. And if you're an applicant who needs to provide an English proficiency test score, that is also due by March 3rd. So I want to make that clear because a lot of times applicants will press that submit button and they think they're good to go. But if the letters of recs don't come in or those test scores don't come in, then the application would not be reviewed for the early cycle. So it's important that you have all materials in by March 3rd. If you're not interested in the early application cycle, then you'd have all the way to March 12th to submit your materials. March 12th is our second deadline or our final deadline, what we call our regular application deadline. So you'd have, I'm sorry, May 12th. I hope I said May and not March. The regular admission deadline is May 12th. So you have plenty of time to get the application in if you're applying to regular deadline. With the early deadline, the only benefits of applying for early application deadline, there's two. One is you get your decision sooner. So if you're applying to early deadline, you're going to get your decision on April 11th. So at almost 2 months earlier than, just about 2 months earlier than a regular deadline. Actually, 3 months earlier than regular deadlines. You're getting your decision early. The other benefit is the only time that you can apply to our Dean's Master Scholarship. We offer a Dean's Master Scholarship. It's available to U.S. citizens and U.S. permanent residents, and the only time you can apply to that scholarship is for early deadline, early application deadline. It's the only time it's available. So if you're interested in that scholarship, you must have all of your materials in by March 3rd, and then we would consider those scholarship application questions that are right in the regular application. Okay, so those are some important dates and information about deadlines. Let's talk a little bit about the application. And I also wanted to remind everyone just about the Q&A function. Please, if you have questions, and I'm sure you do, type them out in that Q&A function. And then our behind the scenes team will feed those questions at the end of the presentation. We're going to have a Q&A section, and they will give us those questions to answer on the camera. But if you don't put them in the Q&A function, we won't know what to answer. So please put all of your questions in the Q&A toolbar here in the Zoom toolbar. Okay, so let's talk a little bit about the application. In order to submit the application, you must upload a resume, you must upload a personal statement, and you must upload all unofficial college transcripts. So in first looking at transcripts, we need all transcripts for all colleges attended. So if you attended multiple colleges, even if you didn't get a degree at that college, some folks might go and take a few courses, and it's not a degree, they're not earning a degree at that college. We still need that transcript. So we need all unofficial college transcripts for all 4 credit courses that you've received. So that's really important that you give us all transcripts. With regard to the personal statement, you want to look at the personal statement as kind of like an interview. We don't interview any of our applicants, but our personal statement would act like an interview. It's really crucial that you answer all questions on that personal statement. That's what we want to know. We want to know your passion for the program, why you're interested in the program, your time management skills, how you're going to carve out an extra 15 or 18 hours per week per course to get through the program. So lots of really, really important questions, and we need you to answer them all. With regard to a resume, resumes that we see are very typical to resumes that you're using when you're seeking a job. But some sections that we see that are different with some of our applicants, sometimes applicants will include a section if they have a lot of say they've participated and received certificates, or they've gone to MOOCs, they've participated in different MOOCs and online certificate programs. They're not for credit, so there's no transcript involved, but they may have a certificate for completing it. They will put all of those online certificate type MOOC achievements in a little section on the resume. In addition to that, sometimes they'll call out their quantitative courses, even though we're going through the transcripts. Sometimes applicants will feel the need to maybe have a little section for quantitative courses or computer science courses, that sort of a thing. And then sometimes our international students, if some of their courses are called different things, particularly math courses, sometimes if it's a Math 1 or a Math 2, they might on their resume actually spell out what that Math 1 and that Math 2 means, if it's covering algebra or calculus or statistics or whatever the case may be. So you'll see lots of little interesting nuances in the resume and little sections that our applicants might create specific to drawing attention to things that might be important for the application process. Okay. In addition to that, there is a $90 application fee, and all that, once you're submitting, you're uploading those 3 documents: resume, personal statement, the unofficial college transcripts, paying the $90 application fee, and you're able to submit your transcript, your application. What comes later would be the letters of recommendation and any test scores. So once you put in the recommender's information in the application, it generates an automatic email that goes out to that recommender, letting them know that you would like them to write a letter of recommendation and giving them the information. And then there's a unique link where they upload that letter using that unique link, and the letter of recommendation will get attached to your application. But it's really, really important that you kind of stay on top of your recommenders, like especially now. So anyone right now that is interested in the early application deadline and they are still missing letters of recommendation, I would be calling or contacting or texting some way, getting in touch with my recommenders and asking them nicely to please submit as soon as possible. Because again, those letters of recommendation do need to be in by March 3rd. So definitely I would be reminding my recommenders right now if they could please get those letters of recommendation in. Same for test scores. Hopefully you've ordered those test scores so that they can come to us. If you have ordered them and you ordered them a while ago and you still don't see them attached to your application, you'd want to reach out to us because there could be a problem. If your name is not exactly the same, if your name is different on your test than it is on your application, on your admission record, then there could be an issue with the matching and them actually integrating with the application. So you'd want to let us know that. But again, all test scores need to be in by the March 3rd deadline if you're interested in early application deadline. As far as English language proficiency, if you are not a U.S. citizen or U.S. permanent resident, then you would be required, and if English is not your primary language, then you would be required to submit an English language proficiency test. We take the TOEFL, we take IELTS, we take Duolingo, and those are the test scores that we would need. So either the TOEFL, IELTS, or Duolingo. Now, this requirement can be waived if you received a degree from a university where the primary medium of instruction was English. Then this requirement can be waived, and that question is asked on the application. Okay, so those are some details about the application. If you have more questions or if you want more information, we are going to have 2 coffee chats, I believe, next week. There are 3 more coffee chats left before early admission cycle, before early deadline. So please sign up for one of those coffee chats or sign up for office hours. Again, we're happy to help you with providing some guidelines for the application process. So please feel free to get in touch with us. Okay. So just real quick before we turn it over to Q&A, always gets lots of questions about tuitions and fees. It's pretty straightforward and pretty simple. Our tuition is $3,500 per course unit. And then there's an online service fee of $156 per course unit. A course unit is a course. So there are 10 course units, 10 courses in our program. So you would have to multiply those numbers by 10. Again, this is posted as a guide. So this tuition is adjusted on a yearly basis. This is the current tuition for 24-25. But again, at least you can get a feel for what the tuition is. The other thing I might mention is when you're looking at the curriculum, some of our courses are a 0.5 course unit. They're not a full course unit. They're considered a half course unit. So then you would just, the tuition would be half of those two fees that you see there. Tuition would be half. Okay. So hopefully that kind of clears up tuition. Oh, I forgot about dual degree. So let me talk about dual degree before we turn it over to Q&A. So some of you might be on here and you heard Jim talk about the curriculum and you heard him say that you either need a computer science undergraduate degree or a computer science minor, or you need a highly quantitative degree with work experience. And you're thinking, oh boy, I don't fall into any of that, but I'm still interested in DS, but I don't fit into one of those categories. Now what do I do? Well, we have something called the dual degree program. And this is a great program for folks who don't qualify to apply to the MSE-DS program right now. And they need to get those computer science skills. They could apply to the MCIT program now. Okay. If admitted, they would complete that program. So all 10 courses. When they're in their last semester of MCIT, they can apply to the MSE-DS program as a dual degree applicant, meaning it's a very abbreviated application. You're not going to go through everything that you're going through now in the application. Okay, so it'll be very abbreviated. And then if admitted to that program, and I believe you need a 3.5 GPA in order to be considered for the dual degree program. But what you're able to do is you're able to double count 4 courses. So 4 courses that you took in the MCIT program will have the potential to count for the MSE-DS program. So it's only leaving you with 6 more courses to gain that second degree. So you'd be receiving 2 degrees with 16 courses. So it is a great opportunity to, again, transition into the MSE-DS program. You start and complete the MCIT, apply to the dual degree program, and 4 courses would count for both MCIT and MSE-DS. So if that is something you're interested in, I always advise admitted students to talk to their advisor right away. Everyone is going to be assigned. Once admitted to the program, you're assigned a student advisor. Let your advisor know, I am potentially interested in the MSE-DS dual degree program, because you want to make sure you take the right courses. You want to make sure you have the 4 courses that could count for MSE-DS. So really important to notify your advisor if you're an admitted student and you're interested in dual degree. Okay, wonderful. So I think we can now turn it over to Q&A. So let me just pull up the questions. Give me 1 second and see what we have here. Okay. So look, it looks like, Jim, this might be a question for you. It says, what's the level of mathematics and coding experience required to be successful in this program? And then it says, I work with database and analytic mathematics background. I have a 20-year-old CS bachelor's degree.
Yeah, great question. As the person who posed that question probably appreciates that computer science has evolved a lot since the last 20 years. Has evolved a lot actually within the last few years, and will likely continue to do so. In terms of math and computer science / programming background, Probably, the best way to get a gauge of whether you feel that you might be sufficiently prepared is always to take a look at the syllabus of our courses. These are all publicly available. You don't have to be registered as a student to have access to description of courses and an overview of their content. Many of our courses have detailed syllabi actually posted by the faculty. So I think that's actually the best way to get a true sense of the level of maturity that's required to take any of the courses. I'd hate for you to say that, Professor G mentioned that if I had this background, I should be fine here, and I'm flailing. So I certainly, each of the course instructors obviously have their prerogative to craft a course to their liking and also to their belief of the level of knowledge that they'd like to impart on the students. And so please, like I said, take a look at the courses themselves. If you've been out of school for a while, it will take you a semester or two to get back up to speed, both in terms of getting used to being quote a student again. Even though the online student experience, as we've iterated many times and emphasized many times, is designed to be friendly, taking classes again is going to be a new experience. It will be like getting back on a bike again. But that said, keep in mind that there is that overhead of just sort of like startup overhead in terms of getting in a groove of being a student again. So that added towards the idea that some of the material that you were well familiar with when you were a student, you may be rusty. You may be a bit rusty with now, and to help ease yourself into this process, we do recommend you take a much lighter load in the beginning. Maybe just one course during your first semester, just to, like I said, get acclimated to being a student again, and also getting acclimated to the level of rigor of our courses. As Jackie emphasized, you are getting the same course content as our on-campus program, so it is extremely rigorous. This is not a watered down master's degree. This is the full experience. This is the full Penn degree. And so just be mindful of that. I know I didn't give a full answer to this question. That it would be great if I had check boxes that you could tick, and if you tick those off, you'd be fine. The courses do vary widely in terms of the prerequisites, in terms of background. So do check those. But broadly, you're going to need to know some linear algebra. You're going to need to know basic probability and statistics. If you're not, hopefully many of you do have experience coding, but if not, fluency with Python or Java or that type of language will be helpful. If you don't have deep experience in any of these areas, that's okay. We'll bring you up to speed, but just going in eyes wide open, if that's the case, then just be prepared that you'll need to carve out extra time to invest in the supplementary sort of training that you'll have to do.
Yeah, I think sometimes too, I know when we're in committee meetings and whatnot, a lot of times if a student, say, has a CS degree and it's from a while ago, and actually this is really for any applicant
Yes.
applying to any of our programs. If their undergraduate degree is from many years ago, a lot of times what we see them do is they'll do something recent to show that they still have that academic ability. So it may be worthwhile, even prior to submitting an application. A lot of times what some applicants will do is they might take a course at a local college just to kind of brush up, you know, or they might even take the GRE, even though the GRE is optional. But sometimes, that'll help to at least prove that, academically they've studied for something, they've taken a test. So there are some options to brush up a little bit, to kind of get yourself going again and to show the application to the committee, that you've done recent things. And sometimes that's what applicants will do. Because, I mean, on paper, you have this particular question. This person has a CS degree. It's from a while ago. They may not necessarily be working in coding, but, what we tend to see is applicants that fall into that category typically will do something recent to show that, to kind of prove that I still have it, so to speak, and I can still do it. So that might be another option as well.
Yeah, and historically, I think Jackie, you let me know if again I'm going off track, but I think historically we've had many applicants, many students who are accepted in the program with a very similar background. That their formal training was quite a few years ago, and my understanding is that everybody's done well in the program. It's sort of, again, going in eyes wide open, knowing the time that you need to invest. One big difference between the online community and the on-campus one is that you all tend to be a bit older and a bit more mature, and so you understand going in eyes wide open that you know what your deficits are, you know where some of your gaps are, and we'll help you fill those in. And but again, I don't want to sugarcoat it. We're not going to make the course any easier for folk who've been out of training for a while, but we're not going to leave you behind. So this is something that is really important. We have a whole crew that monitors the performance of our students and makes sure that you're not only making progress, but you're making great progress. We don't want you to get a degree and just get by. We want you to be proficient. This is a lot of money and time that you're putting into the program. We're well aware of that. And we want to make this experience fulfilling in every way possible.
Yep, absolutely. Absolutely. Here's another question, Jim. It says, I want to learn more about the focus of the program. Is it more theoretical or more career focused? Or can I choose my own path?
Yeah, absolutely. I think I think it's the last one. You can choose your own path. I mean, in the sense that if you want to make it more theoretical, great. Pick up some of the more theoretical courses. If you want to make it more practical, you can certainly focus on that as well. Broadly, in terms of the core content, meaning the mandatory content that you need to take, it balances both. This is a program. Even though it's taught by our on-campus faculty community that has a that when you were back at school in those days, you probably appreciated that, yeah, maybe that experience might have been more oriented towards an academic, a quote unquote academic experience, whatever that means, and maybe there's quote less professional emphasis. I have to say that, if you've been out of school for 20 years, even on-campus training has changed to emphasize more professional development aspects. And certainly the online program, being much newer, has a specific focus on the professional community. So I'd say that you'll be well equipped with both. But certainly if you have a personal interest in one direction versus the other, the program and certainly the infrastructure is well positioned to accommodate any of the interests that you might have. All our faculty have, besides their academic work, many of them do work with professional community, both in terms of consulting or actually working as funded scholars in professional organizations. So they can certainly speak to the range of communities represented and a range of interests.
Yep, for sure. Well, we are quickly running out of time. This hour went so fast, I can't believe it. So I think what we're going to do is we'll wrap it up and then we'll let everyone know if they have questions after the webinar, what it is they can do. So I'll just provide some information on that as well. So we will wrap it up right now. And if anybody has more questions when the webinar is over, there's lots of different ways that you can get in touch with us. So the first way I would recommend is go on our website. We have an incredible FAQ database, so go to our FAQs, and you have tons of questions and answers that are there. So I think you can find a lot of the answers in that FAQ database. In addition, we have lots of events. Like I mentioned, we have 3 more coffee chats left before the early admission cycle is over. Please sign up for one of those coffee chats. We try to vary the days and the times that they're happening. So hopefully we can we can accommodate everybody with those coffee chats. If those coffee chats don't work, then please sign up for office hours. The same way that you go into the website and look at our events page, right on that events page, you can sign up for office hours. Everybody in the admissions department has office hours. We offer them almost every day of the week, including weekends, including evenings. And they're in 15-minute slots. You can ask and we'll answer all of your questions in those office hours. So these would be the 3 main ways to get in touch with us, to get your questions answered. And then if all else fails, email us. We love to hear from our applicants. You can email us. The email address is on the screen there. We do our best to answer all emails within 24 hours, of course, minus the weekends, but we really do want to get back to you right away. So lots of ways to get in touch with us, and we are absolutely happy to help you when we want to help you. So thank you so much for joining us today. You asked great questions, and Jim, thanks so much for joining us and giving us all your insight on the program. We really do appreciate it. So thank you.
Thank you so much, Jackie, and thank you everybody for joining us today. Unfortunately, there wasn't as much time for the Q&A as we would like, but again, I encourage you to take up Jackie's suggestions to look up all these terrific resources that we have. I'm happy to answer questions as well offline, so feel free to reach out to me too. And finally, I encourage you to apply, and I look forward to welcoming you to our online community. It really is I think the best in the world, not just in the country, in terms of delivering this training, and I couldn't be more excited to be a part of it. Thanks again for joining us.
Bye-bye, everyone. Thank you. Have a great rest of your day or evening.